Or is it afternoon now? Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am always delighted at the chance to be at this incredible community treasure here, to see our city from this very special vantage point, and to be in a community that fights so hard for justice and for the future that our kids deserve. We are here today to talk about two special announcements related to Boston as a Green New Deal city and our climate future. We know that in East Boston, residents have been shouldering the environmental burden for the entire region for far too long. There are examples that we can point to, whether it's around the substation that we continue to discuss and organize against, whether it's the proximity to jet fuel and Logan Airport or fuel tanks that are in the area. We want to make sure that we are changing this dynamic and bringing resources directly to communities who are most impacted, directly to the environmental justice communities who have been organizing and leading the charge. So proud to be here with our Chief of Environment, Energy and Open Space, Reverend Mariama White-Hammond, with Councilors Ruthie Lijen and Kendra Lara, also with our Councilor-elect, Gigi Coletta, with John Walkie, Director of Waterfront and Climate Justice Initiatives at Green Roots, and also, where's Allison? Allison Brizius is over there. Our Environment Commissioner and Brian Ronan, Director of Building Structures from the Inspectional Services Department, have been huge factors in making sure that we got to this point. And you'll hear from many of our speakers shortly. So today, the first announcement, we are launching Solarize East Boston, a pilot program to increase solar panel installation and on-site battery storage, reducing our dependence on non-renewable energy sources and starting right here in East Boston. This program will offer a 15% discount on the average cost of solar installation, with upfront subsidies for income-eligible building owners and no-cost options available as well. Very, very grateful and proud to partner with Green Roots, an environmental justice nonprofit, to bring this opportunity directly to residents in East Boston. Secondly, Boston has also been selected for the Community First partnership with MassSave. This will bring energy efficiency and reduce costs to residents, small businesses, local nonprofits, mosques, synagogues, and other houses of worship, because it will prioritize environmental justice communities in Dorchester, East Boston, Roxbury, and Mattapan, with an energy assessment to find opportunities to save energy and save money. And MassSave sponsors will cover up to 100% of the approved upgrade costs. Both of these programs, the Community First Partnership and Solarize East Boston, are supported by our federal recovery dollars, what we like to call our Boston Green New Deal dollars. These partnerships with Green Roots, MassSave, with so many community leaders, shout out to Zoomix, I hear Zoomix is in the crowd as well, also who have installed solar panels and are leading the charge at the grassroots level. We are so grateful to all of our partners for what you do to ensure that our residents are tapping into the opportunities that the green economy presents as well. Okay, un poco en español. Durante demasiado tiempo se ha esperado que los residentes de East Boston asuman la carga ambiental de Boston y de la región en total. Algunos ejemplos incluyen el aeropuerto y la subestación de Eversource aquí en East Boston. Y hoy estamos anunciando el comienzo de Solarize East Boston, un programa piloto para aumentar la instalación de paneles solares y el almacenamiento de baterías en el vecindario. Vamos a reducir nuestra dependencia de las fuentes de energía no renovables aquí en East Boston. El programa ofrecerá un descuento del 15% en el precio de instalación de paneles solares, subvenciones iniciales para los propietarios de edificios que cumplen los requisitos de ingresos y también opciones sin costo. Estoy orgulloso de que nuestro Departamento de Medio Ambiente en Boston se haya asociado con Green Roots, una organización local dedicada a la justicia medioambiental, para ofrecer esta oportunidad a los residentes en East Boston. Boston también ha sido seleccionada para la asociación Community First con MassSave. Esta asociación aportará eficiencia energética y reducción de costes a los residentes, las pequeñas empresas, las organizaciones locales y las mezquitas, sinagogas y otras casas religiosas. Esta asociación dará prioridad a las comunidades de justicia ambiental de Dorchester, East Boston, Roxbury y Mattapan. La gente puede obtener una evaluación energética para encontrar oportunidades en las que pueda ahorrar energía y dinero. Los patrocinadores de MassSave cubrirán hasta el 100% de precio de las mejor aprobadas. Ambos programas, Community First Partnership y Solarize East Boston, se complementan con fondos de ARPA, de fondos federales. Agradezco estas asociaciones con Green Roots, con MassSave, con nuestras comunidades para llevar energía sostenible y de bajo coste a nuestros residentes. Okay, thank you so much, and I will pass it now to our Chief of Environment, Energy, and Open Space, Reverend Mariama Whitehammond.
Thank you, Mayor Wu, and thank you to City Council at Large Ruth C. Louisian, City Councilor Kendra Lara, and congratulations to Councilor-elect Coletta. I'd like to say a special thank you to our partners at MassSave and Green Roots. The Environment Department is thrilled to announce Solarize East Boston and the MassSave Community First Partnership, two programs that focus on reducing barriers and increasing access to renewable energy and energy efficiency measures. I also want to thank all of the advocates and community members who continue to stand up for themselves, their families, and their communities. To be a Green New Deal city, we must shift to renewable energy and, more importantly, increase energy efficiency so we lower how much energy we need. Not just for our larger buildings, which we've done a lot through Berto, but also for our small businesses and our homes. Solarize East Boston will bring East Boston residents the opportunity to generate their own clean and renewable energy for their homes, to reduce energy costs, and increase energy resilience and justice. Throughout the year, this partnership will work to increase access to affordable and renewable energy for East Boston residents, helping them to reduce their energy burden, which has been particularly challenging for many in the midst of the COVID crisis. To ensure that the program addresses the needs of East Boston's community, the city has partnered with Green Roots, which is a community-based organization dedicated to improving and enhancing the urban environment and public health in East Boston, Chelsea, and the surrounding communities. This Community First Partnership kind of speaks for itself in the name. We are working to reach and engage communities that have been historically have low MassSave participation, meaning that they are not reaping the benefits that it can increase energy efficiency and lessen energy costs. So I think it's worth noting every single one of us pays into the MassSave program. You can see it on your bill. But those of us who have the least ability to pay have often not been receiving the proper benefits. So we're excited to be able to make sure that the residents of Boston are not subsidizing other residents in the way that they pay in to the system. So being a Green New Deal city means putting frontline communities first, removing barriers for our residents, and shifting to cleaner, more renewable energy in our neighborhoods. And that's what we're celebrating today. I'll do it in Spanish. Gracias, Alcaldesa Wu. Gracias, Concejal Rusi Luijen. Y felicitaciones de Concejal elegida Coletta y también Concejal Lara. También quisiera darles las gracias a nuestras compañeras de MassSave y Green Roots por esta importante asociación. El Departamento del Medio Ambiente está feliz de anunciar Solarize East Boston y el MassSave Community First Partnership, dos programas que enfocan en reducir los obstáculos y aumentar el acceso a energía renovable. Quiero darles las gracias a todos los activistas y miembros de la comunidad que siempre están abogando por sus derechos ambientales. Para ser una ciudad del Green New Deal, debemos poner nuestro enfoque y recursos a la energía renovable y aumentar la eficiencia energética. No solo para los edificios grandes, sino también para nuestros hogares y pequeños negocios. Solarize East Boston les brindará la oportunidad a los residentes de East Boston de generar energía renovable para sus hogares, reducir costos energéticos y aumentar la resiliencia energética. Para garantizar que el programa responda a las necesidades de la comunidad de East Boston, la ciudad se ha asociado con Green Roots, una organización comunitaria dedicada a mejorar la potencia y el entorno urbano y salud pública en East Boston, Chelsea y comunidades aledañas. Para el Community First Partnership, queremos involucrar más a las comunidades que tienen poca participación en el programa de Mass Save. Aumentando su participación puede brindarles ahorros en sus facturas eléctricas. Ser una ciudad de Green New Deal significa poner nuestras comunidades primero, remover obstáculos y enfocarnos en más energía renovable en nuestros vecindarios. Y eso es lo que estamos celebrando hoy. Gracias.
Gracias, Jefa. So we'll popcorn it over now. I'm so honored to serve alongside powerhouse colleagues on the City Council. And as you can see, one of whom who's still waiting for the official certification results, who hasn't started yet, but we're putting her to work already. So we'll start with Councillor-elect representing this district, Gigi Coletta, then Councillor-at-large, Ruthie Lujan, and then Councillor Kendra Lara after that.
Thank you. It's kind of surreal to have my first press conference happen at a park that I frequented as a child, so this is pretty surreal for me. But thank you, Mayor Wu, thank you, Chief Mariama White-Hammond, and the entire Energy, Environment, and Open Space Cabinet, and to all staff who worked tirelessly to make this program possible. I'd also like to thank Green Roots for partnering with the city to make this a reality for thousands of residents in East Boston who need it the most. And we should take stock in the fact that today's announcement and the program in general is happening here in the environmental justice community of East Boston. For generations, East Bostonians have come together to realize their collective power against major corporations and polluters. Now we are coming together, but this time to realize our collective buying power to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by increasing solar and battery storage. I'd like to shout out the Chief Mariama White-Hammond, as always, for centering equity in every single conversation, decision, and new program created. Today, the City of Boston has made it a priority to reduce emissions while ensuring those who historically bear the burdens of environmental injustices, our Latinx and immigrant neighbors, our low-income families, seniors, persons with disabilities, etc., directly benefit from the solarization program created. So I want to thank again Mayor Wu for her commitment to a green future for all and for focusing efforts in this community. And I look forward to seeing the positive impacts this program has on our residents and working with the city and Green Roots to ensure its long-time success. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hola a todos. My name is Ruthie Lujan, and I'm an at-large city councilor. I want to thank Mayor Wu for your leadership here in this space and making sure that we are bringing a Boston Green New Deal here, right here to East Boston, and making sure that our neighborhoods that are too often neglected and that have been historically excluded are really right at the center when we're talking about climate justice and when we're talking about environmental justice. As our councilor-elect Gigi Coletta stated, East Boston too often suffers the brunt of environmental racism, whether it's the location of the airport or it's in the fight against a substation that Green Roots and so many here were a part of. It is really, really critically important that, and symbolic that we are starting this pilot right here in East Boston. And so I want to also thank Chief Mariama White-Hammond and her entire department. Mass Saves is such a critical program. It's something that I actually encouraged all of my family members, starting with my father, to take advantage of in order to make sure that folks who oftentimes need it the most, like the chief was saying, are able to take advantage of it. And then that started a ripple effect of him telling his neighbors, of him telling aunts and uncles, we have this really great program where we can insulate, our homes at no cost. And so I just think that we have a lot more work to do to make sure that neighbors and our families and people of color really are able to take advantage of all of these programs. So when we talk about renewable energy, that we are really centering those who also are most likely to be victims when we're talking about climate justice issues. And so really happy to be here in East Boston and really excited to work alongside the mayor and members of the city council as we continue to work towards the Boston Green New Deal. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes, mi gente. No, vamos. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes, mi gente. Okay, esto es un día de celebración, por favor. Thank you, Mayor Wu, for inviting me to be here today. My name is Kendra Lara, and I am the chair of the Boston City Council's Committee on Environmental Justice, Resiliency, and Parks. I share our collective vision for a just transition and a truly climate resilient city that protects our most marginalized communities. The Solarize East Boston pilot is a transformative program that's going to get us closer to our carbon neutral goal and ensure that our city, and specifically our coastal neighborhoods, are protected in the face of climate change. Today, you have heard from all of my colleagues, and you will hear more about the details of the program, but I want to talk to you about our approach, because I think that it's unique in the way that we're implementing this program. First, I want to talk about the fact that we're using a collective purchasing model. I think that most of us who do environmental justice work know that our collective and our countries and our cities and our states' economic model is harmful to our planet. It's extractive and ultimately puts the people that are most marginalized, again, like most people said, to bear the brunt of the issues. And using a collective purchasing model is one way that we are working against this individualized way of thinking that is often presented to us by capitalism as our only choice. And I think that it's not only incredibly creative, but it's going to move us one step closer to what I know is true and what everybody here knows is true, is that when it comes to all things, but especially environmental justice, we are each other's responsibility. And I want to talk about our partnership with Green Roots. Again, we know that our most marginalized communities oftentimes have the smallest carbon footprint, not just in our city, in the state, in our country, and in the entire world. And places like East Boston, places around the country, and places like the Global South will ultimately bear the brunt of what the 1% and the top 10% of the country are doing. And involving Green Roots is a really community-centered approach because it's going to show us and it's going to really, really make space for what does it look like to make sure that the communities who are going to be most impacted by climate change have the opportunity to self-determine, have the opportunity to be a part of the conversation and ultimately guide us in what it means to be a Green New Deal city, not just from the top down, but from the bottom up. So I'm really excited to be here to launch this program today. I'm grateful for Mayor Wu and Chief White Hammond, and I look forward to keeping an eye and stewarding this pilot as the chair of the Environmental Justice Committee and hopefully making sure that every single neighborhood in the city of Boston has access to it. Thank you so much.
So we want to just shout out two more really important partners, Ace Solar and Resonant Energy, that are doing a lot of important work around the installation and promotion of this program. Queremos agradecer a dos otras personas, el Ace Solar and el Resonant Energy, dos otros grupos que están ayudando a este programa. And with that, I will hand it over to someone who I knew before I was on this side of the podium, but a longtime advocate and friend who we once shared an office where the water was leaking in the ceiling, and we had to figure out how to negotiate that together, John Waukee from Green Roots.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you very much, Reverend Mariama, Chief Reverend Mariama. And thank you to everyone here today. Muchísimas gracias a la alcaldesa. Voy a hacerlo, I'm going to do the translation on the fly here as I go here. Muchísimas gracias a la alcaldesa Wu, a Reverend Mariama White Hammond, y también a todos los consejeros que están aquí hoy. And thank you to all the counselors who've been here today. My name is John Waukee. I'm an Eagle Hill resident, and I'm also the director of Waterfront and Climate Justice Initiatives at Green Roots. Mi nombre es John Waukee, soy un residente de Eagle Hill y también soy el director de las iniciativas de la zona costera y de justicia climática para la organización Raíces Verdes, una organización sin fines de lucro que está mucho ruido. Una organización sin fines de lucro basado en Chelsea, pero trabajamos en East Boston y en Chelsea. So I work at Green Roots, which is a nonprofit organization. We're based in Chelsea, but we work in the communities of East Boston and Chelsea on topics of environmental justice. And I am very proud to be here with everyone here to launch this pilot project, Solarize Eastie. I've sort of shortened it from East Boston to Eastie because that's how we'd know it. And with this partnership of the City of Boston, the City of Boston's Environment Department, shout out to all of the folks in the department who've been working on this with us, and with the support of with the Mass Clean Energy Center, Mass CEC, y también con el apoyo, and also with, you already recognize them, had here to also recognize Ace Solar and Resonant Energy and the work they're going to be doing with us in this partnership. Y entonces estoy bien orgulloso para estar aquí para lanzar este proyecto piloto donde Solarize Eastie, que hace el nombre un poquito más cortito, en este socio, en este colaboración con el Departamento de Ambiente de la ciudad de Boston y también con el apoyo del Centro de Energía Limpio de Massachusetts. Y también quiero reconocer todo el apoyo y la fuerza de nuestra installer, no sé la palabra parece, pero de Ace Solar y también para, gracias, y también para con Resonant Energy, que va a estar trabajando con el financiamiento de este. Aquí en East Boston estamos bien, tenemos un conocimiento bien fuerte de los impactos de cambio climático aquí en la costa, y también conocemos muy bien los impactos de la infraestructura de energía en nuestro vecindario, si estamos hablando de tanques de combustible para los aviones o si estamos hablando de subestaciones eléctricas. So here in East Boston, we're very aware of the impacts of climate change, whether we're talking about the impacts along the coast here, or if we're talking about energy infrastructure in our neighborhood, from jet fuel tanks to high voltage electrical substations. And what we want to see going forward is that everyone in the community has the opportunity to participate in and to benefit from the renewable energy economy, this shift, this transition that we're experiencing as a society. Que queremos ver es que toda nuestra comunidad tiene la oportunidad para participar y también tener el beneficio de la economía de energía renovable. Y con frecuencia, cosas como paneles solares, que tenemos un ejemplo atrás aquí, paneles solares y la batería para almacenar la energía eléctrica, son para las comunidades que tienen plata, que tienen la capacidad. Y la última en la fila para recibir acceso a estas tecnologías siempre son la gente de bajo ingreso, siempre son los inmigrantes, siempre son la gente de color. Estamos hablando de comunidades de justicia ambiental. So quite frequently things like solar panels, which you've got an example back here, battery storage, these are for wealthier communities. And the last people in the line to get access to these kinds of resources and technologies are usually low-income people, immigrants, people of color, basically environmental justice communities like East Boston. Y para esta razón, este proyecto va a estar haciendo, y el trabajo nuestro en Raíces Verdes es para hacer el alcance a la comunidad, para identificar qué son esas barreras para implementar y adoptar esta tecnología y para trabajar con alquilinos, para gente de bajo ingreso y gente que no habla inglés, para ayudarlos para ahorrar dinero, para ahorrar energía y para responder a la crisis de cambio climático. And so for this reason, the project is, and our work as Green Roots is to be reaching out to the community to identify the barriers to adoption of these technologies and to work with renters, low-income folks, people who don't speak English, and to help them to save money, to save energy, and to respond to the climate crisis that's affecting all of us. Thank you very much.
Okay, and so I will, to wrap us up, I'll introduce Brian Ronan of our Inspectional Services Department. Thank you so much for your partnership in making sure this could happen too.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, Chief, Chair. Hello, I'm Brian Ronan. I'm the director of the Building Instructions Division for Boston Inspectional Services Department. I've been a department employee for 27 years. I remember when the solar panels first started showing up. East Boston was actually my first district as a building inspector. I look forward to the program. We've revamped the solar program several times in the past as the technology has evolved. Actually, very impressive evolution. It works very well, better than we actually thought it was going to, if I recall correctly. But the permitting will be done. One of my duties is to troubleshoot some of the permitting to make sure that the permit process is as expeditious as possible. The second part is that it's going to be installed properly to all fire, building, and electrical codes. That's kind of my role with that. I'll be overseeing some of that at the beginning, definitely until I train people to get a little farther along through the process. The ultimate goal is the safety of the residents of East Boston and the residents of the city, that's kind of what I'm here to do, myself and my partners in fire service, which we look forward to the program and we look forward to a successful process with that. So thank you.
I want to make one last shout out, which is to our neighborhood services liaison from East Boston, Natalia Benitez, who's on the ground every single day. So very grateful for your service. Okay, let's take on-topic questions for any of the speakers up here. If you have off-topic questions for me, we'll do those afterwards in a separate scrum.
Mayor, can you just speak to the bigger picture here? Why is this necessary? What are the challenges we're facing in terms of climate change?
I am a mom. I take very seriously that I am the first mom elected in this role, following after Mayor Kim Janey, also a mother who has served only very recently in Boston's history. And what I worry about most for my kids, 4 and 7 now, is whether some of the treasures that we love in Boston will even exist for them to enjoy as they step into their lives. So this is a neighborhood that has not only faced tremendous challenge with every major storm that we've weathered, but also for decades and generations has been fighting against environmental hazards and harms located here. So this is our chance as a city to lead the way across the country and show that when we lean into what's possible here, the jobs that are created, the clean air that our little ones will be breathing, the stability that being in your own home with energy that you don't have to pay for because it's so well insulated, or that you're actually getting more resources because you own the solar up top, that is the best of all worlds for not only this generation but generations to come. So this is a start and a pilot. I'm so grateful that we are digging in, showing what works so that we can expand it across the entire city. Any thoughts on what's at stake? Choosing, you had a question?
Yeah, can you explain a little bit about what exactly is the program about and how it's going to implement?
Sure. You want to? Yeah.
So the basic way that it's set up is right now, many times you have to go out and find a solar provider that's willing to install. And what's been a challenge for many of us in Boston is that we don't live in single family homes. We live in multifamily homes, and many providers don't want to deal with the headache of multifamily homes. And so this program is specifically set up for the kinds of homes that we have right here in Boston. But what it's also doing is making it easier for people to access that. Sometimes you have to put down a down payment. Sometimes that's the thing that blocks people from being able to do it. And so what we're trying to do is really pay attention to how do we make, one, a commitment to solar in the kinds of homes that Boston has. 2, how are we lowering the barriers, making it easier? Materials will be translated, for instance. We know that many of the residents in this neighborhood speak other languages, so we'll have the materials in other languages. We'll be able to do door-to-door, reaching out to people, connecting with people, making sure that they know about this program and not just waiting for them to sort of figure out and decide that they want solar on their own. So I think the important thing on the solar side is, we've talked for a long time that solar should be for everyone, but the truth is that it has not been for everyone. It has not been easy for many communities to access. And so This is intentionally lowering the barrier, making it possible for everyone to access. And as you know, our mayor is a Green New Deal mayor, and the Green New Deal sits at the intersection of the environment and the economic crisis. They're both happening at the same time. And sometimes we ask people to choose between one or the other. We say like, oh, the climate crisis is so serious, drop everything and join. But what is a better idea is, how about we address the climate crisis in a way that also addresses the economic crisis so people don't have to choose? And this program is a concrete way of helping people access renewable energy, do what's right in terms of the climate, while also lowering their costs and making sure they have access to all the kinds of programs that unfortunately have far too often benefited folks who financially do not need it in the same way as many of our residents.
They don't have the decision right to say that you install them. So
No, and you're absolutely right. There is even more that we have to do. But I think what's important is I live in a triple decker myself. And I tried to figure out how to do solar. And it's a little bit of a challenge. So you're right. We are not going to get everybody. There's still more work to be done. But we are paying particular attention to the fact that many of us live in 2-family, 3-family, 4-family homes, and that because of the way previous programs were set up, we couldn't access it. So yes, there's even more. This is just a beginning. But again, we're putting first those people who've been locked out in the past.
Good. All right. Thank you, everyone. Sorry.
So to follow up on what you just said, I own a 2-family in Eagle Hill, and I've been hearing from various providers that want to sell the solar power, but I knew that you guys were looking at something. But they basically said that Eversource will not permit more than 1 meter per household per lot.
Yep.
So I was hoping to offer my roof panels to the tenants, but apparently that's not allowed. Is that something that would be addressed?
So that's exactly the kinds of challenges that we're trying to solve. And we're going to get started, and we're sure that there will be little hiccups along the way, but instead of making you negotiate that by yourself, we're creating this program so that the power of the Environment Department, ISD, the mayors here, the city council, people are paying attention in a different way. We're not going to ask you to negotiate that by yourself. We're putting this program in place so that we can help our residents negotiate the challenges people have often faced that have stopped them from getting solar in the past. So I'm glad you're here. I hope you will connect with some of the folks in the audience. Rashawn is right there. Rashawn, there's some A-Solars here. There's a number of different people. So there's a person, if you are somebody that somebody can come talk to, raise your hand. We've got a couple people, all right? And what we hope is after you talk to them, you'll go back and talk to your neighbors. You shouldn't have to figure this out on your own. We need to make sure that we've reduced all the barriers, and the city is coming together with our partners to make this happen. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.